Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. The individuals on this panel require no introduction, but I want to tell you two things about the panel itself. It contains two specific perspectives, that of the owner and that of the operator. And the operators are of very, very different profiles as well. And only one person on this panel is actually getting paid to speak his mind freely, which means that everyone else is required to create a really interesting balance in between personal opinion and the burden of representing a global or regional brand. It requires guts, it requires diplomacy, and if I don't manage to poke them enough to get out of that shell, it's going to be really boring. But luckily, it's going to be boring for only about 28 minutes, I think. So without further ado, this is the title of the panel. It is a very confusing title. Let me clarify, there will be no stripping on this stage. The subject is to discuss about changes in customer behavior, and specifically, what can we know about that? What should we do about it, and what can we expect? There's a lot of theory out there, but we will not be talking about it today, because what we really care about is what's being done. And in discussing what's being done, we're going to use this. Why is this green? We're going to use this particular structure, the customer journey, and we're going to have 5 topics. And we're going to start with Olivier, please. Olivier, I understand that a course perspective on changing behavior and changing desires is quite interesting. And I was hoping you're going to be able to tell us a bit more about how you look at segments, how you look at the need to give them something new.
We will try to manage the burden, and we feel rather excited and to have some news and trend to share, and maybe to explain where we're coming from first of all, because I see a lot in the room, a lot of passion and experience. So some of you might remember a famous ad, and this ad, which was some years ago, the statement was, "The last thing you expect is a memorable experience." The last thing you expect is a memorable experience. It was not from Accor Hotel. It was not from Pascal and AHIC. However, the industry, during many years, looked at how to bring international standard, meaning quality, in different parts of the world, which were matching the expectation of the guests, where they travel and they were feeling secure. And then we move on how to make it nice, easy, convenient. We are entering a new phase which is about memorable experience, which is about personalization. And this is a challenge for a group like Accor Hotel on how we can have this in our entire brand portfolio, in all segments, because we strongly believe that this need for personalization, this need for experience, this need for recognition is valid for everyone entering in our hotel, whatever is the segment, whatever is the purpose of the trip. In order to do it, we have developed internally some new brand and concept, and we also engage in the market with some entrepreneur, bringing new concept, bringing new DNA in our industry. And I'm very pleased to share with you that all the team here in Middle East is very excited to bring this to Middle East. And this is the Mama Shelter that you can see. And we signed 2 days ago the first Mama Shelter in Dubai that will be officially announced and communicated in a few days. However, we believe that this is the place today to give an example and to illustrate how we can bring some new concepts which are different from the traditional approach, which are different from the segment. There is a lot. Kevin was talking about the F&B, and here it's really a concept developed around F&B. You will have an open-air area with the view on Burj Khalifa, with a very lovely place. And there will be around 217 hotel rooms.
Is lifestyle the key word here?
Lifestyle is really the key word, and lifestyle means this concept has been developed by the Trigano family, the founder of Club Med, with Philip Stark in terms of design. and then some business angels. It's so the name Mama Shelter. It's how to find a place which is very welcoming a lot of people, very casual setup.
Let's find out what other people think about lifestyle. Let's do that. You're next in line for some reason. I don't know.
So I could do the politically correct answer. I could say 3 things. One is, I think...
Please attack Olivier if you can.
No. So the very simple thing is, I think in our industry, there are a couple of words that are used and overused and probably close to getting abused. And I think certainly lifestyle is one of them. We try and put our customers in boxes and say, how can we create a lifestyle brand for someone? Whereas I think the product piece is right. You tick the box there. But for us as a luxury brand, we think that the customers who come and stay with us seek that lifestyle, whether you want to define it in a certain manner through the product or not. I think for us, the biggest thing is how do you actually deliver that lifestyle through the people that work for us, the colleagues who work in our hotels. To take a very simple example, I think we've got a very, I'll use that word, luxury lifestyle hotel that just opened 4 months ago, the Al Naseem, the Jumeirah Al Naseem, which is our last stretch on the Medina beach. And I'd urge anyone who hasn't been there to go and have a look at that. The general manager, Richard, actually handpicked every staff and each and every member of staff that he felt would actually deliver the product that we had created. And I think it's great. And congratulations, Olivier, for Mama Shelter's entry into Dubai. But I think the actual delivery of that lifestyle is more important in our minds than the product that you create.
Interesting. So wait a minute. You said lifestyle is overused, but then you went ahead to say that Al Naseem is a lifestyle approach?
Well, I thought, since you want to stay on program, so I'll stay on script, but yes.
Kees, what do you think about that whole lifestyle business?
Well, you know, the word lifestyle, I think we're all still a little bit confused what it exactly stands for. But just to react directly to what was said, I think the idea of Mama Shelter and obviously its origin and the creators and the entrepreneurship that's set behind that is great. But I'm obviously anxious to watch how a large organization like yourself can not kill that creative spirit and all of that. Because as we all know, you can get a great interior design going, but then coming back to your point, in the end of the day, the experience is the real differentiator, or should be the real differentiator in a lifestyle proposition. And you know, you can handpick the people, but if your comp and benefits system still needs to fit into the global scheme, so to speak, or even into a regional scheme, I don't think you can attract the talent to actually deliver that. So it is a far more complex subject than, you know, just interior design and a new branding, etc. I think structurally you need to run that business in a different way, and you have to attract different people. And I'm not sure that can be achieved in a big conglomerate setting, how much freedom they will get.
But actually, I wanted to specify that it would be really interesting if you feel free to just answer directly when someone is, you know, saying something that maybe you have a rebuttal towards.
That's a very valid question, and that's a challenge that we have to face, obviously, because it's not about the design, the concept, and the product. We have been product-driven. Here we're talking about lifestyle, we're talking about the experience. And if I have to explain in front of the audience in the limited time why in the eastern part of Paris, in a place where none of us would like to go, there is a place with 500 covers every day and being such a success, it will be difficult to explain because it's about people, it's about experience.
And a very local understanding.
And most of the people working there are probably people that are different from our standard and way we operate and we work. So at Accor Hotel, our view, and that's why we create this lifestyle division, is not only to have additional brand and logo and things that we can present and saying, yeah, now we are smart and we do lifestyle. It's about making some partnership with entrepreneurs, and each deal is different. Mama Shelter, 25 hours, Banyan Tree, Rixos, and at each time is how this entrepreneur can develop the concept, make sure that the entire organization is not killing the concept, so they keep their autonomy, they keep the DNA of the brand, And then at the same time, they get the support of the entire organization in terms of development, in terms of distribution platform, and in terms of assistance to the number of countries that they would like to enter. That's what we're doing, which is quite exciting, which is not easy every day. However, if we can manage successfully to keep the DNA and then benefit from the large platform, then that will be a game changer.
Talking about platforms, if we move onwards from dreams into the tools and booking, I understand that IHG has a very interesting alternative approach to how to answer to the emerging needs of the new customer. Would you like to tell us about it, Pascal?
Yeah, absolutely. So, moving away from the segment, which is the title of the panel, it was funny when I discovered this, because 4 years ago, I was in an IHG meeting, and they were telling us that we are thinking about moving away from the segment and thinking about the guest or the purpose of the stay. Why is this guest coming to the hotel?
I have an idea.
Tomorrow?
I will move away from your line of sight because I want the conversation to happen here. And I know it's weird, but I'm actually going to be behind you so that you can talk to each other without seeing me. I just roll with it.
So we are talking about the purpose of stay, and the idea was to ensure that when our guests come to the hotel, before they come to it, we understand what is their purpose. Are they here for a conference? Are they here on a honeymoon? Are they here on a couple? Are they here on a meeting? It was very important because inside our brand, like InterContinental, Crown Plaza, or Holiday Inn, we wanted to make sure we can purpose the service to their needs. So moving on that, opened up a bit of its more perspective about the personalization of the travel. And of course, adding new brand to our portfolio, like the long stay brand, like Staybridge Suite, and even now bringing some new brand into the region, like Kimpton Hotels and Restaurants, for example, that we believe, again, is a good brand to play in the lifestyle. But then, of course, we move a bit even further than that and say, okay, when people are at the dream level, or even more at the booking level, how could we influence them to find the right room in the right brand in the company? So we've designed what we call the next generation reservation system called GRS in association with Amadeus as a great partner. And this system, which is going live as we speak in America today, and will come to the Middle East in the first quarter of 2018, will allow the guest to design his stay right at the booking level. He can choose the room he wants, in the brand he wants, in the location he wants, on the top floor, at the low floor, with the view he wants. He can add all the services that he needs. He can really look at the different options, even book some outside services like ticket to theater, so really trying to already customize his stay before he comes to us. And I think this is really, really a very different approach to ensure that we have, before the stay, all the information of the guest, and that he can already influence his stay himself by booking and design it his way.
Sounds great. Sounds interesting. I'm really curious whether anyone else has anything cool to announce on the tool side, specifically booking.
I can just quickly add to that. If there's any OTAs in this room, please close your ears now, because our biggest challenge as a brand is really how do we drive our customers to our websites directly, right? You've gone as far as actually creating that distribution engine yourselves as a core. And for us as a brand, which is driven by prime micro locations, yes, people dream about that location, but then how do you jump from there to our website and book our property? So we thought there's something about core competencies. As hotel companies, I think we're a couple of steps behind that technology and the innovation on that booking engine side. And like I think Priceline spent something like $1.3 billion, which is the parent company of Expedia. You just simply can't compete with that. So we partnered with Google as an industry first, and we came up with Google Inside, and we took one of our prized assets, which is the Burj, which seems like an asset which you can't really go into. So we said, let's try and find a way to go inside the Burj without actually stepping in. So we did a virtual reality setup with Google, where we have all our properties mapped out, and you can go inside, check out the rooms, check out the bathtubs, check out the restaurants, check out the sunset, everything except actually physically staying there. And we found that actually, once we had our customers on that, the propensity for them to book at our properties was 2.5 times higher. Mm-hmm. So I think for us, it's all about driving that customer away from again, OTAs, shut your ears now, to our websites. And that's the biggest challenge for us.
You're absolutely right. And I think it's not only, we need, I think, to see it in 3 pieces. So there is the guest experience. So you experience the hotel or you design your stay before you stay. Then, of course, it's the employees, because we will be able to operate at the background with a much more intuitive system that allow people to, again, help the guest customize his stay. And then on an owner's point of view, on an investor's point of view, the way we'll manage the data is really priceless, because if you know better your customer, if you know his pattern of booking, if you know his price point, when you have all this data, it's much easier then to go back to him, especially if he's an AHIC Rewards Club loyal member or whatever loyalty membership he is on, to really push him really some offers that he believes it's around his price point or his needs.
You may call it priceless, but it is not costless, right? So I don't want to start the whole OTA debate, because I think for the last 3-4 years we've killed that subject substantially. The point still is there's a cost of acquisition and a cost of retention. There's very little transparency in it. If I look at different management companies, there's not one that charges the reservation expenses the same way. Everyone found their own little formula, which makes benchmarking rather difficult. A lot of people, like myself, would argue that the cost of a brand is mainly against the rooms revenue, because that's really where the brand adds most of its value. And it gets to astronomical numbers. I can statistically prove it's somewhere between 16 to 23% of rooms revenue when you add all of these costs together. So whilst, of course, the industry has to stay ahead of technology and all of that, we need to also understand where's that cost of development and investment, where's it all going to sit? Is it going to be pushed back into the operating P&Ls, and therefore the investors end up paying for it? Or with all the brand fees and license fees that you collect, not just the R&D, but the actual operational costs of these systems, are the companies going to absorb them or be more transparent about it? Because right now there's very little transparency in there.
I think it's all about the channels you're seeking to deploy, right? So in an age where technology is moving, where everyone's trying to book on the smallest device possible, as a company, and as a company that's based here in the region, our customers, a lot of our customers come from our GCC region, and they still want the kind of face-to-face interaction or someone on the other end of the phone who can actually guide them through their next booking. Our call center, believe it or not, still receives over 2,000 calls a day. It's direct customers coming to us with no cost of acquisition who continue to come back to us because they are the ones who want to speak to Ahmed on the other side of the phone and want to make that reservation.
I'm amazed by that statistic.
It is.
I would love to hear that. Because
it is absolutely the case.
Reservations is... well,
it's still present. It's very important.
It's the region. It's horses for courses, right?
You don't replace something and let everything go. You continue using every channel of reservation that you can to connect with the guest. And the good news about the GRS, our new system, there is no additional cost for the owners. The existing management contract are in place. The costs have been already done. It's already, nothing will change from our side. We have invested about the last 4 years, and it's our duty to invest we can power our hotel with the best possible engine. And we do that, of course, for our guests, for a better experience, but for our owners, because we're very conscious of return on investment. Without owners, we do not exist. People have to believe that there is the power of our brand, there is the power of our system, and there is the power of our people. When we do these 3 things absolutely well, and we bring loyal guests back to our hotel on a permanent basis, this is, we believe, where we can win and bring really added value to the owners. Yes, there could be a cost. There is always a cost of doing this. And then we leave the owners the opportunity to tell us if they believe we are performing at the right level and for the right cost, or if there is a discrepancy. And we will always want to be the first choice for owners.
Sure.
So we are on the front line at all time.
We have to recognize and we have to adapt to the fact that what we call the guest is in fact and the same person that we like with all the data to try to put in different categories. This is all of us, and all of us having different expectations depending on the purpose. So for all of you coming to Dubai for the conference, your choice of and your criteria for accommodation will be different if you come back to the weekend for a romantic weekend or if you plan a family trip during the summer. So you have different needs, and what we believe is that a part of the answer is, of course, with technology to understand and to address this. A significant part of the answer, and that's what we are doing, is to try to complete our offer and to look at the different market segment and to be able that, it's away from the segment, meaning being very agile and being able to, through the loyalty program, to communicate on a very wide offer at a worldwide level, but then addressing the different needs, because the same person, depending on the purpose, might have a trip very different. That's why we are even moving from traditional hospitality to also private home rental, because we consider that the same guest might be interested with traveling with his family to also rent not only just hotel room, but it might be a villa or apartment to stay with his family.
Does this apply to the Chinese as well? Does this apply to the Chinese as well? Do you have any stories?
I know that you like story about the segment, and it's true that we observe things which are very interesting when you put all the data and you try to recognize what is the trend for the guest. And we realize that, for example, welcoming Chinese guests in Dubai, we can have some guests on the social network staying at the Burj Al Arab, and then spending 2 nights in our Ibis hotel, which is quite interesting to see the same guest for the same purpose having 2 extreme in order to have one experience and then save some cost. That's
exactly what we discovered. That's very interesting what you're telling us, because that's what we discovered when our mindset was moved away from the segment, because we were doing that for years and years, to the purpose of the stay. And you're absolutely right. People can jump from one brand to another quite easily. And you can be at an InterContinental because you have a conference there, and your family is joining you, and you want to stay at the Holiday Inn for the weekend. And so we understood that pretty quickly. And when we were looking at our statistic of our loyalty program, we said that people were pretty not always aware about all the brand that the group had. And so now we really communicate to them, and we incentivize them when they use more brand than the one that they used to use. So again, on an owner point of view, trying to really capitalize on the strengths of the brand within a same group and connecting with them on a regular basis. And more you understand their purpose, their need, more you are able to design in advance and influence them on their next stay. So that's quite interesting. We're just at the beginning of the experience, because, like I said, it's live as we speak in America. But we believe this is going to open quite a lot of opportunity for us to think of our business a bit differently.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, it's kind of, if you look at marketing segmentation for hotels 101, we kind of threw that book out and we looked at customer behavior and segment them based on behavior. Because you have, for example, in let's say an example, one of our hotels, we classify a group of customers who is a family with kids. They book about 6 to 7 weeks in advance. They stay for about 5 to 6 nights, and we call them, let's say, luxurists. And we find that we've got the other end of the spectrum, which is the business singles, the guys in the suits, and we know that pattern. There's a couple of nights, and they're coming through a corporate booking system. And it's interesting how we track the profitability of each of those customers, segmentation, and how we market to them and how we speak to them. It changes our mindset on how our marketing programs work. Because if you had to classify them by the traditional hotel marketing program segmentation, which is age, geography, purpose of visit, then you kind of put them all together in one bucket.
Well, that's it.
But from a marketing perspective, to do that segregation is easy. To go back to our first point of dream and now getting to the experience bit is, so when they arrive, they all have different needs, right? Because you've segmented them. So what are the companies really doing, and it's not an easy subject, to ensure that the experience is then different and tailor-made to these different segmented markets that you refer to?
Yeah.
Because to me, they've come across like they're all being driven by pretty much the same systems.
Yeah, I think again, you've got to really throw the rule book out a little bit. I'll use again our latest addition to the family, which is Jumeirah Al Naseem, 430 rooms, fantastic luxury experience. It sits just below the Burj Al Arab in terms of its ADR right now. It's only 5 months in its opening, and doing phenomenally well for us. It's got great reviews, and it's got a burger place in there called Black Tap, right? So you could never associate a luxury hotel with a craft burger place. But we just broke that mold, so we've got an adult pool, so it allows the guys who don't want the screaming kids on one side, and then it's got the burger place, because that's what my 9 and 11-year-old boys want to do when they don't want that traditional fine dining experience in something, and you're paying a lot of money for it, and you see these families with disappointed kids because they really want to get down to the McDonald's.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's a very important point, because the guests have moved on. It's very, very different.
Absolutely.
And they are quite contradictory. Every year we are doing a trend report on our guests and really understanding what's the guest of the future. And what we discover is really there is a lot of contradictory thinking. So they want to be exclusive, but they want that everybody that they know about it. They want to be, so there is this contradictory thinking. And, putting a burger place in a luxury hotel seems to be contradictory, but it's exactly what they want. We discover that our guest wants to have the simplest possible food that people eat every day because it's authentic, but they just want to do it and have it in a very special way, their own way. So all this combination, and again, you can only get that if you know the purpose of their stay, and if you know your guests really well and really interconnect with them.
Yeah, and I think you've got to be a little bit of a risk taker as well, Kees. To your point, you said, you do the cookie cutter approach every now and then. We open one hotel every year, and we've got to really make it count. And so for us to take that Black Tap New York
Shafi.
experience in was,
So much plug-in. How much is a burger? How much is the burger?
This
is
cheap.
The question.
It's not cheap. That's
doesn't have to be.
Well, when was the last time you went to Shake Shack and spent less than 20 dirhams? You tell me.
Let's move on. Let's talk about reviews. Let's talk about what happens when the guest leaves and they talk about what just happened to them. Is there anyone who's looking at that space and taking control of that space somehow?
The system is, I like your diagram because this is the way how we look at it. We have another one in between dream and book, which is plan. But it's all right. The rest is the same.
And nightmare?
No nightmare. Return, very important. Review. We call it share, but it's the same. But the best answer to that is, stay is so important. People deliver the promise, and loyalty program are critical. 100 million people in the loyalty program give you the space to really, again, continue the connection that you have had before, during, and after. And of course, review, we know everything's public. Everything is on the web, and you better have to take care of them and making sure you follow them and you answer to the guests if there is any comments, positive or negative, and ensure that you keep the connection and the relationship. This is, I think this diagram shows exactly that it's a continuous process. It doesn't stop somewhere or start somewhere. It's really something that you can build within the.
But I think we're still missing a trick on property when it comes to this.
The experience, you mean?
No, the review to understand did we really match and deliver that experience. Because we're all hiding behind the data, and then when the data is presented, often it's presented as non-reliable, because obviously Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and then within your own brand tend to be the typical ratings. But what about really making sure that your frontline people touch the customer during the exit or afterwards, and really get a face-to-face review, which I think is much more genuine. And I see some brands do that really well, but there are very few of them who really have a system in place of, we used to call them lobby lizards, lobby ambassadors or whatever, but really making sure that you get that feedback and not just relying on, what the online review is, where you see every hotelier, sorry to say, most of them give the box standard answers to it. So I think the credibility of that feedback. And there are other parts of our business. We touched upon F&B and your burger. What systems are there in place to catch that feedback from the non-residential customer? Same in banqueting. So in my view, we have a huge way to go to have a real understanding. Did you deliver the experience or not?
To succeed in this, it means that this is back to our roots, which is people. And if we expect to have different guests today, we need to understand that also people working in our properties are evolving, and that the management style has to evolve if we want them to be able to serve the guests, which means that we are back to your previous comment that our aim is not only to keep the DNA of some lifestyle brand in a large group. This is to change the DNA of a large group, becoming more entrepreneurial and giving more empowerment and engagement to the people in front of the guests.
Yeah, and that people will always be at the center.
On that note, we are out of time, but I will take 10 seconds per person. If you can just share in very briefly what you think is needed more in terms of addressing this new behavior, this new customer. What would be the topic to discuss as a topic? Let me start.
For me, it's no lip service.
Lip service.
Yeah, we have to be genuine about the opportunity. Why would an investor go for a particular brand or whatever? First, you have to go for a specific market opportunity, and that is driven by the positioning of the property. Then you have to match it with the brand. My worry is about the brand's lip service versus the actual ability to deliver.
All right, no lip service. Anyone?
I think from our perspective, we're a small luxury hotel brand. So for us to get the customer to come back to us is far easier to try and go and catch a new customer from somewhere else. So I think we cannot buy loyalty. We cannot compete with the millions of loyalty programs and the loyalty points. We have to earn the customer's loyalty, and that's really what the business we are in.
No lip service, earned loyalty.
Engage people, so capacity as a large organization to keep entrepreneurial spirit and to have the people in front of the guests that are engaged and that can give the standard and the service, but then the personal interaction. So it's
absorb, scale, but don't kill. Interesting.
Differentiated brand, delivered by great people, powered by great technology.
On that note, ladies, gentlemen, not sure where to look. Thank you so much.
Thank you.